Yo, what's going on, guys? Gray here. Welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. In today's video, we're going to be going over Xingqiu. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. I tried to look it up and see if I could find the pronunciation of it. I like to try and say it properly if I can, so if I got it wrong, please let me know in the comments. But we're going to take a look at him today. He is a Hydro swordsman. He uses a one-handed sword, and he can fill kind of a support role on your team. He is currently one of the rate up 4 stars in the Klee banner. So if you're wishing on that banner, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get him. So let's take a look at his abilities. If you look at websites like Genshin GG, they say that he's roughly a B tier character. I'd kind of agree with that, depending on how you want to build him and what he's going to fill on your team. His regular E ability, it does this sort of slash, and it's also going to give you this rain shield. If you can see it right there, he has it'll be 3 by default, but I have 4 rain shields, and this is going to prevent you from taking damage. It's going to block damage incoming, and when the swords get destroyed, it's actually going to heal you. So it's kind of a nice benefit, and it's going to affect the other enemies with the Hydro effect, so you can follow up with a number of different things. I'll show you that in a minute. His Q ability, his ultimate, is sort of the same thing. He sort of pops this buff. It's going to make it so your auto attacks do Hydro damage, but it also refreshes your swords buff as well. So he's all about having that sort of rain shield is what it's called. It's going to deflect damage. It'll heal you. It's actually pretty strong, and it can combo with your team really well. There's not a lot of Hydro characters in the game, so having one on your team can be pretty beneficial depending on who you run with him. So you can see I have those guys affected with Hydro. I can come in with Chongyun. Even though he's way over leveled, he's going to one-shot everything. But he can come in and combo off of that, and it makes a really nice synergy. You can have your sword shields up, and I believe they transfer to other characters. So if I pop the sword shields, I can switch over to Chongyun, and you can see I still have those sword shields up. And then I can go to combo and get that freeze effect going. So he's really nice to have on your team to get that Hydro synergy going. We'll take a look at his talents, his abilities, and all of that, so stay tuned. Taking a look at his talents, we can I just showed it to you in those previous clips, so we can get a little more in depth with how exactly they work. That first, his E ability, that Fatal Rain screen, I want to talk about it real quick, because if you go down right here, it's going to, not only does it prevent the damage incoming, but it says right here, it will increase the character's resistance to interruption. And this part right here is important. 20% of his Hydro damage bonus will be converted to additional damage reduction for the rain swords. So that's going to be really important to keep in mind as we build him. Stacking Hydro damage as much as possible will make him stronger and stronger the more we can stack. It'll give him and your entire team tons of damage resistance that you can just soak damage from something that's going to hit you really hard. So keep that in mind. The other talent I want to point out is one you'll get as you ascend him. It's called Hydropathic, and this says when a rain sword is shattered or the duration expires, it's going to regenerate the current character's HP based on 6% of his max HP. So that's another one to keep in mind. His heal off of that Hydropathic effect will scale with his health. So if you can get some bonus HP on some of your artifacts, it's not going to hurt you. I know that's not typically a good stat, but in his case, it will help you. It's going to give you bonus healing for himself and your team as well. So that's good to keep in mind. He has a couple other things. He's going to get that nice 20% Hydro damage bonus once you ascend him a few times, but he's really fills that support role for the most part. He can combo really well with some other characters. We'll look at his constellations. You can get a better idea of how far you can really take this guy. Now, looking at his constellations, it's mostly going to be about buffing his whole rain sword mechanic. You can see I'm lucky enough to have a couple of his constellations leveled up, and if you remember at the beginning of the video, I actually said he initially has 3 rain swords when you use his E. His first constellation is going to increase that number by 1, so you have 4 instead of 3. And as you move along, you're just going to get buffs to those rain swords. This one I want to point out really quick. This one decreases the Hydro resistance of enemies hit by sword rain by 15%. That can be really nice if you're running another Hydro character on your team. It can sort of make you wombo combo that a little bit if you really are running a Hydro-centric team. I would personally love to see that. I think it'd be really cool to run a Hydro team. I just haven't tried it out myself. Moving through the rest of his constellations, they really just buff that sword rain ability. His 4th constellation will make it so that your E attack will do extra damage whenever your ultimate is active. So it's going to stack a little damage in there, but it's mostly about buffing those rain swords, making them as strong as possible, and you can kind of combo him into other characters. That's really what seems to be the theme here and what he's all about. We're going to take a look at his weapons and artifacts so you can see how I've built him so far and where you can potentially take him. And I'll let you know sort of what I'm going to use him for as time goes on, because I am planning on throwing him on one of my teams. Moving on to his weapons, you can obviously see, I'm sure if you have a keen eye, I don't have him fully leveled up by any means. I only have him pushed up to level 40 right now. I wanted to bring him here because it's kind of that mid-ground. And I like to do this with a lot of my characters. I bring them to this mid-ground. That way I'm not investing too much into them just to try them out and see if I like them, because you can really kind of hurt yourself if you do that too much. But we brought him to a nice mid-ground level 40 so we can get a good idea of what he's about. But right now I'm just using the fillet blade. This is a nice, well-rounded weapon that works on a lot of different characters. It has that 50% chance to deal bonus attack damage to enemies just randomly while you're attacking. It's not a bad weapon. If you're a total whale or you have some 5-star weapons laying around, lucky you. But the Skyward Blade is a fantastic option for him if you have it. It's just an amazing weapon. It gives you extra crit rate. It gives you attack speed, attack damage. I'll put it up here on the screen so you can read the tooltip. Absolutely amazing weapon and a solid option for him. But there's plenty of 3- and 4-star weapons that will do the job just as well. So don't worry if you don't have those 5-star weapons laying around. Most of us don't, so it's really not too big of a deal. Don't worry. We're going to look at his artifacts now and see. I want to talk about it a little bit because you can kind of build him a few different ways. I'm going to talk about how I'm building him for my team. So here we are finally looking at his artifacts, and I want to talk about it a little bit because I get a lot of discussion about the best ways to build characters and what artifacts you should use here and there. And I want to say a lot of it is subjective. I mean, it's going to depend on your team. While some characters definitely have a set that is their bread and butter and it's going to make them OP, he can kind of be built a few different ways. I'm going to talk about what I'm using him for. I'm planning on putting him on my second Spiral Abyss team. Once you hit the 5th floor of the Spiral Abyss, you need sort of an off team. It's going to split you into 2 parties, and it's kind of hard getting that many characters and having 2 fully solid teams built to tackle that. I mean, it's going to take a lot of resources to upgrade your characters. So I don't necessarily have a second healer laying around. It's between him and Noel are really my only options for an off healer. And if you remember when we talked about his talents and stuff, his heal from the rain shield scales off of his HP. So I wanted to see how far I could take that. And I'm going to be using the Exile set. It's a fantastic set for him. It's really one of his best sets since he's a support character. It's going to give you extra energy recharge and just make it so you can get his abilities as often as possible. But if you have HP on them, that's going to benefit you a lot as well because it'll make his heal hit even harder and keep your team alive. The other important thing to keep in mind is you're looking for hydro damage. Typically, it's only the cup item that has that elemental damage on it, but hydro damage is huge because that again will reduce it. Well, it's going to give you additional damage resistance on his rain swords. So HP and hydro damage are 2 things you really want to look for on his artifact sets, and I would recommend using the Exile set just to get his abilities off cooldown as quickly as possible. I'm sure there's other things you could use, and I'd be very curious in hearing how you guys are building him for your teams. Like I said, he's going to be on my off team in the Spiral Abyss, so I'm really excited to try it out. It might blow up my face. It may not work at all, but I really hope it does because that would be pretty fun if you ask me. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I just wanted to give a quick overview of how he works, how you could use him on your team, and I love seeing all the different ways that you guys used all these characters on your team. It really has inspired me to do a little more research. I'm planning on doing a follow-up guide for Chung Yoon. If you guys didn't check out that video, it really popped off. I was really surprised with how it did. Chung Yoon is a real sleeper character, and now that I've got him really leveled up, I want to go back and touch on him again because of your guys' comments. I love learning information from you. So let me know if there's something I'm missing with him, if you're using him in a certain way that's really unique or really cool. I would definitely be interested in hearing about it. I'm going to try him out on my off team and see how it goes. Thank you guys for checking out the video. I appreciate your time. Good luck getting him from the Klee banner. Like I said, he is right up, so you'll probably get your hands on him if you're doing some wishes right now. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.